In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how narcissistic parents use religion to exploit their children and all the people around them. This is not a video about religion, and it's not about making one religion right or wrong. It's really about how the narcissistic parent can use religion to really hurt you with and why. So I'll be telling you why they use religion, ways to tell if they are using religion, and some tips on how to help you heal the religious wounds and maybe your shutdown around religion that occurred because of the abuse. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth. I'm a transpersonal psychologist, holistic nutritional chef, and best-selling author of Get Well Now, Healing Yourself with Food and the Power of the Mind, which is basically a holistic handbook for healing. And as I said, I'm going to talk to you about why narcissists will use religion and how they do it. So religion is notoriously a great place for a narcissist to hide. Now, remember that the narcissist is always creating a reality that they want other people to get on board with, even though it's not the truth of who they are or what they're about or what they think. They will use anything that will make them look good. And religion is one of those things that will make them look good. So they might be really active in your church. They might be doing all kinds of things that look like they're altruistic and they're being kind to others in the congregation. But when they come home, they are belittling you and they're shaming you and they're making you wrong for every single thing you do. They may even be using physical abuse or other kinds of abuses, along with all of the terrible ways that they treat you. So they're trying to fool everyone else into thinking they're this good person when in fact you know they're not. And they've created this reality in their own mind, this fantasy. You have to remember that they are creating a fantasy. They're spinning a fantasy all the time, and religion is a great arena for them to spin this fantasy, to create this fantasy, and then to grow it. And so what they'll do with you is they may use whatever the main book is for you, the Bible, the Quran, whatever it is, they may use verses in there to manipulate you and control you. They'll say to you things like, well, it's God's will that you should, and then they'll just deliver that, and then there's no discussion about it. You just have to do what they say to do, and they're using God as a way, or using religious tenets, rules as a way to do this. It's easy for them too, because religions do have rules. They do have things that they want you to do in order to be a good, moral, upright kind of person. That's a big part of what religion does, is helps you in those ways. But for a narcissist, they're going to use those rules against you and make you wrong. And they often will do it at every turn. It's an easy way for them to be able to control you. You know, narcissists are notorious for being cult leaders. And I'm not suggesting that religions are cults. I'm not saying that. But I mean, we see it all the time. If you go look at any cult that's been studied in history, the person at the top of it, like just the thing, one off the top of my head, when I was a kid, it was the Jim Jones cult. It's where that whole phrase drinking the Kool-Aid came from. And it's actually really horrifying that people use that just as a regular phrase in our culture. But drinking the Kool-Aid was basically, he had thousands of people in Central America. I think it was Guyana. I can't remember what country it was. Again, I was a little girl when it all happened. I remember seeing the coverage on Time magazine, and I remember reading the article, and I might have been a teen. But at any rate, he had them convinced the world was going to end, and that if they drank the Kool-Aid, they could all ascend together, or whatever it was. But he had thousands of people convinced of this, and I'll never forget the photographs. I wish they wouldn't put photographs like this out there. It's horrible for people that are sensitive and intuitive and empathic. But they drank the Kool-Aid and it had poison in it, and they all died. And of course, everything that he said that he predicted that were in this fantasy world he had created, anything that was written down or shared or anything in the Jim Jones cult, in that area where they had the cult, none of it was true. None of it came true. And it was just horrifying. So it's a personality like that. Now, he probably had other issues. I'm sure he was sociopathic and all of that. But that's a good thing to look at, is if you want to understand narcissistic personality better, that may have sociopathy, may have psychopathy involved with it, to go and look at these cult leaders throughout history and see what it is that they did. They usually cut people off. They isolate them. I mean, that's textbook narcissist. They isolate you, keep you from other people so you don't tell them the truth about what's happening in what you're doing. They will cut you off from your own family and from your own friends and all of that, and you have to just be in there with them. Anything that does that, please think twice, really think twice. There are all kinds of beautiful religious and spiritual communities all over the world that will let you be yourself. And that's really key, is like, if they're letting you be yourself and they're allowing you just to share and have your own spiritual experience, your own spiritual development process, then that's great. I hate to see people really just completely write off God or spirituality or anything like that because they had a narcissistic parent who threw scripture at them every single time they tried to walk out of the house with a skirt on of a certain length, or every time they tried to breathe or do anything. It's really, really damaging, because they're using God. They're using this, what is supposed to be this beautiful spiritual life force that's supposed to be flowing through you, animating you. They're using that as a way to control you and as a way to exploit you. So this can create religious wounds where you see God as, and I can tell you this, I remember this in college when I was in a social work program, and they asked us to talk about how do we see God. And I remember a therapist asked me this once at one point. And I drew a picture of a man sitting in a big throne in the sky, shaking his finger at me. And that is shaming. That is blaming. That is awful. That's not how I see God now. And it's taken a lot of transformation in order for me to get to that place. I couldn't even use the word God for many years because it felt so damaging to me. Because I was getting these mixed messages about okay, God is shaming and I'm supposed to be afraid, but I'm supposed to love, and it was just hard for me to compute the whole thing, because there was a feeling I had in my heart. And this is what I want you to really look at, is what is the feeling you had in your heart? If your narcissistic parent was using religion to shame you and blame you and guilt you and exploit you and control you, one of the ways that you might have been able to tell that is through your gut. There may be people in your church now, or in your congregation or your temple or whatever, where you look at them and you're just like, that person's really faking this. You're the person in charge, may be the one who's really faking their spiritual connection. You can feel it, and I want you to really feel into that. If you look back at your parent and go, gosh, that really didn't feel like real empathy to me at all. It was performative. Because narcissists won't have empathy, they won't be empathetic. It will be something that they're performing. It's not who they are, because they don't know who they are. Talk about somebody who's incredibly broken and who has no idea of their power. I will often say that narcissists cut love off. So whatever it is that happened to them, whether it be a string of things that happened to them as children, or it be a specific event or series of events, or whatever it was, it's like they make a decision. Love is not going out. Love is not coming in. Love is too painful. Forget it. And then they start to create their fantasy world. And this fantasy world is something that they need everyone around them to be in. And as soon as you rock the boat of their fantasy, they lose it. They don't know how to deal with that. So they'll do anything to try to get you back into the fantasy, and that includes using religion. And because religion also has rules, it also has dogmatic beliefs, these things that you're supposed to believe in order to be a part of the group. And what's more perfect for a narcissistic family system than saying these are the things you have to believe to be a part of this group, to be a part of this family. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It'll be all those rules of authority that they placed upon you that you're just supposed to follow. Even though your heart might be in a completely different place, it may not feel right or authentic for you at all to be living the way that they're telling you that you should live. Another way that you might be able to tell if they're narcissistic and just performing this empathy is that they may cry and repent and say, I'm so sorry, God will help me, I'll give it over to God, whatever it is. But you can feel that they're not being genuine, they don't really mean it. You give them another chance because they're sitting there crying in front of you, they're repenting, they're saying they did something wrong and now they're going to make it better. And this is one of the things narcissists will routinely do. They will beg you to come back. It's part of their it's hoovering is what it's known as, and it's part of their whole deal to try to get from you what they want to get from you. And so when they're crying and you're feeling that this doesn't feel real, and then of course you give them a chance and then they just go right back to the same old, they haven't done what it takes to be able to change those behaviors. Because people who are reflective, self-reflective, can change behaviors, and they can evolve through their spiritual understanding. They can evolve out of seeing God as a dogmatic, cruel, judgmental being that is trying to keep them in line by shaming them and blaming them. I don't resonate with that. And if that was how you were brought up, then maybe look at that. Maybe look at ways that you can understand the beauty of a higher power, something greater than yourself, something bigger than you. I mean, one of my greatest things is nature. I mean, what is greater than sitting on a beach, just a massive beach, looking at the ocean and hearing it and feeling it and watching the sunset? It's powerful. There's so much power and significance that feels good about this greater force, this life force that you have within you. So I encourage you that if you went through these kinds of religious wounds where you were shamed and blamed and guilted with scripture, and you were told it's God's will when you knew it was really your parents' will, and it wasn't anything about you and what's important for you and what's extraordinary about you. I really do encourage you to explore a different way to read books about the loving and beautiful and richly brilliant side of religions. Look at how they're all tied together by the good things that unite them. Feel, what do you really believe? Kind of look back on your life and say to yourself, well, when they said this in church or in congregation or in temple or whatever, when they said this, that didn't feel right to me. That didn't resonate with me. Maybe what was really meant was they were trying to give us a metaphor and not an actual story of this is exactly what happened. And what can we extrapolate from the metaphor that can help us to grow, that can help us to change, that can help us to be better people, and reflect back what's good inside of you. So I know this is a really big subject, and I know that religious wounds can be deep. They can be difficult. Can be extremely painful. So I want you just to really open up and think about it differently. Think about the power of nature. Think about the power of the beauty around you. Look at books like I started reading books by the Dalai Lama. I looked into Buddhism and read a book by Lama Surya Das many years ago that really, really helped me. There was another book called Jesus and Buddha as Brothers, where it was quotes from both of these, incredible prophets who had so much to teach us, that basically they were saying the same things. So there's all kinds of ways to heal this wound that comes from being exploited, that comes from being controlled and manipulated through religion. And I hope that you have a better understanding of why narcissists do this. I'm not making it okay. It's not okay. But what you can do, because if you clicked on this video, chances are you're empathic, you're sensitive, you're on a mission to help yourself heal. And so I really encourage you to keep doing that, and to look at yourself and look at the ways that you really truly believe, and see how different that is from the way that you were brought up. You are so powerful. You are so amazing and brilliant. And you have this incredible life force within you, this source that animates you, and discovering how to feel that, be that, embrace that, embody that for your good is a very, very healing thing to do. So if you haven't already done so, if you like this video, please hit the like button. It helps to get it into more people's hands so that they can learn more and get the help that they need. And also, please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for notifications. And if you need any help, you can book a free call with me, a free consultation, where you can, if you're interested in working with me, where we can see if we might be a good fit to work with each other. My work is unique and different. As a transpersonal psychologist, I really look at you as a holistic system. And with my nutritional chef background, I also help you with food that will help you empower your body. I work a lot with people with chronic illness. Holistic wellness for abuse survivors with chronic illness has really been my focus for the last 15 years or so. So if you feel like you need help with that, you can work with me, and I would love to talk to you about that. Keep watching these videos, and I'm going to have my upcoming online course coming up, Healing the 5 Primary Wounds of Parental Narcissistic Abuse. So stay tuned. I'm working on it hard, and I'll get it out there to you soon. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth, and I thank you so much for watching. I hope that this information will help you get well.